Before we dive in, here's a question that every Bitcoin investor should be asking right now. Is the next crypto rally already taking shape, or is the market hiding a much bigger surprise? Stay with us until the end, because the signals shaping Bitcoin's future may not be coming from the crypto market at all.
We're going to have, you saw Micron earnings, where like you're going to have the AI guys continue to show, hey, these are cash producing machines. I got a call from one of the, maybe the single best investor of the last 25 years yesterday. And we don't speak often, once every 6 months. And he always calls me when something's happening in crypto. And he was looking at the Bitcoin MicroStrategy thing. And he says, I'm looking at the Apple stock chart breakdown. You saw Apple had to say, hey, we got to raise all our prices because we just can't afford this memory.
The real reason Bitcoin is struggling isn't fear, regulation, or even crypto itself. It's something far bigger that's happening behind the scenes. Bitcoin may be much closer to a defining moment than most investors realize. While many traders are waiting for the next breakout, the real battle is unfolding behind the scenes. According to Mike Novogratz, crypto is no longer moving on hype alone. Instead, powerful macroeconomic forces are quietly taking control, and they could determine Bitcoin's next major direction. The biggest warning comes from the U.S. economy. A more hawkish Federal Reserve, combined with Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent's unexpected support for a stronger U.S. dollar, is creating a difficult environment for Bitcoin. Historically, a stronger dollar reduces demand for risk assets, and that pressure is beginning to show. Despite sharp intraday swings, Bitcoin remains trapped within a relatively narrow range, suggesting the market is absorbing heavy selling rather than building fresh momentum. But that's only part of the story. Capital is also flowing aggressively into artificial intelligence, where companies like Anthropic and OpenAI continue attracting enormous investor attention. As institutional money chases the next wave of innovation, Bitcoin faces even tougher competition for capital. Political uncertainty adds another layer of risk. With the U.S. midterm elections approaching, shifting expectations could reshape fiscal and economic policy. For Bitcoin, the next explosive move may not depend on crypto headlines at all. Instead, the outcome could be decided by interest rates, dollar strength, liquidity conditions, and whether investors are finally ready to embrace risk once again. What do you think? Is Bitcoin simply pausing before its next breakout, or is a bigger correction on the horizon? Share your thoughts in the comments. And if you enjoyed this analysis, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more crypto market insights.
You know, at a time when crypto in general is underloved, right? People are more and more skeptical about market structure. There's energy elsewhere. The Fed chair, Kevin Warsh, came out hawkish in his first meeting, and then Scott Bessent, surprisingly, out of nowhere, came and piled on and was a strong dollar guy. You know, strong dollar is weak Bitcoin. And that's the first time we've really heard Bessent, 2 days, yesterday or the day before, you know, come out and make the case for why the strong dollar is good for the U.S. economy. He had it until then, right? They kind of wanted a weaker dollar. And so I think you put all those things together and Bitcoin has been in a world of hurt. This is like hyper volatility within a 3 to 4% range, still, you know, 4 to 5% from the high. And so, listen, short term, the market, the NASDAQ especially trades heavy. And it trades like it wants to shake people out. My gut feeling is, while I've been bearish, it still doesn't feel like what a final high will feel like. And so we'll watch this really carefully. In the short run, I'm nervous. You got a lot of supply that wants to come into the market. We're digesting supply. It's not even just equity supply. It's interest rate. I think Anthropic will come this year. I mean, you read the same thing I did on ChatGPT, on Sam Altman's company. You know, what they're thinking of delaying it. I do think in time they're both public companies. They are massive capital users. The whole world's invested in them. and this AI thing's not going away. The other reality check, I think, was we've gotten through another series of primaries, and it's just highlighting two things. One is, oh wow, we're now only 4.5 months to the midterms, and it's just really hard to see a Republican win there. The Democrats are going to win the House, and I actually think they're going to win the Senate. What has changed the tables a little bit is, while most of the Democrats that got elected in these primaries or won their primaries, I'd say are center left Democrats who kind of would toe the Democratic line. A lot of people that had been recruited were ex-military who have a leadership and a service focus. And so I think there's a lot of good candidates that the Dems have brought out. The big races that got all the press were these 3 New York House seats where, I'd say Mondami Democrats or AOC Democrats, Socialist Party Democrats, they won and they beat incumbents in 2 of those 3 races. And that's a big deal, because all of a sudden we go from having a Congress with 5, AOCs, right? Rashid Tlaib, they call themselves the Squad, to 8.
Had it the biggest threat or the biggest opportunity? For Bitcoin is another crypto regulation, but the explosive rise of artificial intelligence? Stay with us, because the battle over AI could end up reshaping the future of Bitcoin and the entire crypto market in ways few investors see coming. Could the next big move in Bitcoin be decided by artificial intelligence instead of the crypto market itself? It may sound surprising, but that's exactly where the conversation is heading. Mike Novogratz points to a growing debate over AI that could reshape how investors evaluate both digital assets and the broader financial markets. As AI becomes more powerful, a new question is emerging. Who should actually benefit from the enormous wealth it creates? If AI is built on society's collective knowledge and data, could governments eventually step in to redistribute some of those profits? Now, here's where it gets even more interesting. Why should Bitcoin investors care about AI policy? Because any new taxes, regulations, or restrictions on AI infrastructure could change capital flows, investor sentiment, and overall market liquidity. At the same time, political resistance to data centers is growing, even as the United States races to keep pace with China's rapid AI development. Can policymakers balance innovation with regulation without slowing economic growth? And there's another layer investors can't ignore. With elections approaching and AI companies continuing to post strong earnings, institutional money has another high-growth destination besides crypto. So the real question is this: will Bitcoin reclaim the spotlight, or will AI continue attracting the lion's share of global investment capital? Let's back.
Where they had oil, and that we share that oil amongst everybody. We have to look at AI. If the feedstock to AI is all our collective knowledge, right? You're feeding AI with our data, but our knowledge, and it's becoming this knowledge machine that processes data, processes the knowledge that's come before it, and makes decisions. Well, we all own some of that knowledge, don't we? So some of that needs to be shared. And so his link to getting into how do we share it, he didn't have the answer for how do we share yet, but there's a philosophical basis that's being developed and growing, and that makes sense to everybody who hears it, to say, yeah, we got to share this. And so now, is it going to be, taxes on data centers? Is it going to be taxes on AI profits? Is it going to be taxes on? Is it going to be sharing equity, like Bernie Sanders said? It's going to be something, and we got to figure out what's the smartest way without stifling innovation. But I think it's becoming almost a bipartisan talking point that some of this wealth has to be shared. I mean, how do we do it right? And oh God, we have to do it fast. And I don't know if we're going to be able to ride that wave perfectly, right? That balance, but it's a real tension. And so, listen, I think the election is a big deal for the markets, and we're going to get closer and closer to it in to November. And I think maybe the market's selling off a little bit here is thinking about that. But you are going to have, you saw Micron earnings where, like, you're going to have the AI guys continue to show, hey, these are cash-producing machines. I got a call from one of maybe the single best investor of the last 25 years yesterday. And we don't speak often, once every 6 months. And he always calls me when something's happening in crypto. And he was looking at the Bitcoin MicroStrategy thing, and he says, I'm looking at the Apple stock chart breakdown. You saw Apple had to say, hey, we got to raise all our prices because we just can't afford this memory. And so margins going down. So Apple's chart looks bad. Apple's one of the great darlings of the market for the last 25 years, right? It's Berkshire's biggest holding had been. And he says, I'm wondering, he said, it's just weird. Like there's so many things that are making this harder to play. But he said, and then you look at the earnings, he was like, these stocks are, if you look at 27 earnings, are pretty reasonable. If you look at 2030 earnings, they're like dead sheep.
So what really decides Bitcoin's next bull run? Is it crypto adoption, or are much bigger forces already taking control? That's the question every investor should be asking right now. The spotlight may still be on Bitcoin, but the real battle is unfolding across artificial intelligence, government policy, and global capital flows. As AI attracts billions in investment and policymakers debate new regulations, could institutional money continue shifting away from crypto? And what happens if election-driven policies reshape liquidity and investor confidence? Those answers could matter just as much as Bitcoin's next technical breakout. The market is entering a phase where macroeconomic trends are becoming impossible to ignore, and the next major catalyst may arrive from outside the crypto industry altogether. The biggest opportunity often appears when uncertainty reaches its peak. So, is Bitcoin preparing for its next explosive rally, or is the market about to surprise everyone once again? The coming months could provide the answer. One final question before you go. Could the biggest catalyst for Bitcoin's next move already be unfolding right in front of us, while most investors are watching the wrong signals?